Hey guys, back with another MapleStory video here. This time, had a little fun doing some Hard Magnus solo content. Then I did multi Hard Magnus solo for the first time in a while, and then finish off with Lotus. The funny part about these three runs were the DPM was pretty much exactly the same, around 45 bill DPM. Now this Hard Magnus run for solo was with no buffs. I just used fair trade, just having a fun. Obviously went really fast, and the damage was still pouring in, and so I just wanted to see, no buffs, fair trade. Fair trade is pretty OP, and a lot of these kind of easier per se content, dailies, HRA, commander, daily chaos bosses, expeditions, hard magnets, things like that. It makes a big difference. Just that 100% crit rate. Don't really need to buff much else. And you can see this run is going to be extremely fast. I was wondering if I could get under 1 minute, but I wasn't able to get there. And you can see kind of about 40 seconds in, it's pretty on time, but I think I run into the situation where Magnus does his 2 fly up abilities and just time ticks away while I'm not able to finish it off. So it was pretty insane to see that all of these different contents, different times of fights as well, ended up with around the same DPM. And I have no idea how it works. I honestly am as clueless as ever about damage, honestly, especially in Lotus and things like that, where my build in this run, I'll talk about it later, is not my best build. And we didn't even have the best run, but yet my boss DPM was just under my PR, previous world record time, when I was, I'm not even EXP, I'm not even DPS hypers, still able to dish out the same damage. So I honestly thought I had a good idea on damage and what's the best, and it kind of just confuses me more than ever when I put out damage the way, with so many different factors and variables, and obviously mechanics is a big part as well. But in this video, I also kind of want to talk about the February update. Right, I made a podcast. It came out on Spotify. Check that out. It's on all podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, everything. Episode number 9. I was just talking about my initial takeaways from the AbsoLab Chaos teaser. And this was even, the podcast came out before I even talked about, before they even did the stream. So there is some information that I wasn't aware of that came out later on, but check out that podcast on all platforms. I'll post the link in the description below. I'm definitely subscribed to that. It's a lot of fun. I can't wait for next week's update or podcast, where we'll get the patch notes, and I'll probably talk to some of my guildies about their point of views, because some of them are going inherent route, going the chaos route, and others are going the AbsoLab, the Necro to AbsoLab route. So it's going to be interesting. A lot of different point of views, get a lot of different takes, and that's sort of my takeaway overall in general about the AbsoLab Chaos route, where a lot of people were complaining that it's going to be worse for Necro users and inherit to Chaos, and AbsoLab is just a better, cheaper route. And that was all previous. That was all before the update, the stream, and it seems like that is not the case anymore. Just that extra layer of going through Chaos before you go to AbsoLab seems really tedious, and having to have Mastercraft fodders being only crafted from Chaos equipment for the Chaos route seems like a huge obstacle, extremely pricey, and it kind of makes me believe, without seeing the true numbers, that the rates aren't going to be very high. It's going to be a real grind, whether you're going AbsoLab or you're going Chaos, and we'll see what the final numbers are, the rates, the set bonuses, all of that. We'll talk about that in the next podcast, YouTube video, but it's, with the information we have right now, it seems like it's going to be a real grind. No matter if you're clearing Lotus or not, right now it just feels like it's going to be a while, which I'm honestly okay with. Right, we haven't had this kind of progression for a long time. Even Radiant Exalts, that's a grind as well, but this is kind of a grind for everybody, right? It kind of incorporates doing your dailies, your weekly bosses with Commander, and if you're doing Lotus, doing that, and gives people options, right? I think that's, like I mentioned, it just different routes for different people, different levels of funding, and the time is obviously the biggest factor. They haven't talked about any play to win packages or resources or ways to kind of speed up that process, something I'm interested in. But overall, it's exciting, and I can't wait to see what the patch notes come out with and how people theory craft it and talk about it. I think there's just a lot of really smart people out there that will kind of crunch the numbers, what's the best route, things like that for Mastercrafts, for AbsoLab, for Chaos, all those things. And just exciting to see, like I mentioned in my podcast, that it's time. I mean, every month has been pretty epic as far as updates, going from rebalances to remaster to SIA to this. It's nonstop. And, the roadmap shows that we're going to have a rebalance soon, coming up probably in April. And then obviously Damien's coming out in February. And then we're going to have V3 coming out in July and a lot of things in between. So really excited just to see every month, every couple weeks is going to have something to talk about and discussions, whether it's people like it or not. It's talking points, it's content, it's exciting. And I think the more, point of views there are, more feedback there is, the better place it is for the game. And, I'm excited, and I'm really that's all I can say right now without really giving too much detail. I'm excited to see what routes people take. As I mentioned before, building gear, builds, EXP, BA, final damage, whatever route you take, it just feels like there's so many great options, a lot of ways to do top tier damage, and I'm interested. I think there's, more and more people are doing different things and showcasing their gear and their damage and their stats. And it's just more than ever that the game is in a place where it's, where people are hitting insane numbers, PRs every week, every day. And I think that's good for the game. It doesn't feel stale, even though the content is, people have been doing Lotus for a while and Arc and things like that. That can get stale, but now there's the progressions of AbsoLab and doing things like that, just a daily grind. I'm excited. I think it's fun, good for the game, and I can't wait. And I know, comment below what your thoughts are about Necro, Chaos, AbsoLab, what place you're in. I think really the players that have kind of take the biggest loss, in my opinion, are those Necro users that can't clear Lotus. They're kind of stuck. They can't craft AbsoLab gear. They can't craft Chaos gear until they get those. They can't even go the Chaos route. So I'm interested to see those point of views. Maybe you have to level up to 50. Maybe, you have to wait to do Lotus. You have to do Lotus. You have to wait for the next rebalance. I think it's just interesting to see how different parties and people with fundings and things like that and gears are going to take this new update, because it's not going to be for everyone. It's hard, right? It's for endgame people mainly. But so there's people kind of in that weird limbo position where their gear isn't really going to benefit, or they're not going to be able to do AbsoLab. They're just going to have to wait a few months for rebalances in V3. But overall, I just want to hear, different point of views. I think that's what I enjoy. I want to see how people are affected, and, if any way I can help, right? I think there's a lot of people out there that are still learning and talking about it and kind of theory crafting, and I'm the same way. I just want to talk to people that know the game. So definitely reach out, comment below, DM me on Discord. I would love to hear your thoughts on this patch and how it's going to affect you, and maybe what route you're going to take. And I'm definitely excited for next patch to talk about it more. But here I'm finishing up Hard Magnus. My previous time was before remaster, so I was over 9 minutes, 9.5 I think it was, and this one's clearing just under 9 minutes. So much faster. I wouldn't say my gear is much better than it was previously. Just obviously remaster makes a big difference in the threat and RNG, and pretty consistent overall. 45 build DPM over 9 minute fight. Pretty good, not gonna lie. And it was right below my normal Magnus, or my Hard Magnus solo, with no buffs at all. And then finally finishing off with Lotus. This was just our normal run. No BR, nothing like that. Same team, same everything. And my previous Lotus run, I hit the world record at the time. I think people passed it. Not surprising at all. But I did 47 bill. Similar stats. I think I just have a little bit more cap. I only hit one rating exalt in between this time. No BR, full PXB, EXP, hypers, and about the same time as our previous run. Now, honestly, this run was probably our best DPS run. I keep saying that every week, but it's really true that the team is just getting, Lotus is just becoming kind of second nature for everyone. We've all been kind of pumping out damage and surviving, and the times have been faster and faster. And this one was not our fastest time. Our last one was in my last video only because we didn't have any purple orb phases. And this run, we actually have 3 purple orb phases, and we still clear almost just as fast as our previous PR. So pretty insane to think about. Like I said before, I have no idea, honestly, what does damage at this point, what builds are best. And I just feel like there's so many other variables, and I feel like I have a good grasp, and then this happens where I basically do a little bit better, a little bit worse in this run than my world record PR time, and we had 3 purple orb phases. So that was, that's about 40 seconds of no damage at all, and so really strange in my opinion. But and also I don't have my KT 50 ring, my Kerning Tower 50 ring on this one. So I'm just going full EXP build. I have EXP jewels. I have my RA. I have my RA ring, my gold leaf ring, my Kerning Tower EXP ring, and commander set ring. So a little bit higher physical attack, not as much. I don't have that 10% physical damage from the KT 50 ring. And I switched from blue to yellow jewels for the EXP. So I'm sitting around 44k physical attack, I think, in this run, a little bit beefed up. And so maybe that makes a difference. Maybe that's better than the blue jewels. I have no idea. To be honest, I wish I could tell you. I do all the calculations, and then you come into the actual game, and it's completely different. And there's so many different variables, things like that. So just interesting to see. Just gonna keep, every run's gonna be different. Just try to keep it consistent as far as deaths and surviving, and just try and compare and just try to get better every run, and then maybe test out more things as far as what build is best for me in certain content. But you'll see our team did pretty well. We just kind of had a little wipe right there, but not an issue. We're going to clear phase 1 just over 3 minutes again, and this is about on par with what we normally do. Just over 3 minutes. We hold our benediction for phase 2 because we don't want it to be wasted kind of in between phase 1 and phase 2, that transition period. Unfortunately, I think one thing I could have did better. I'll have to But my getting text from my wife about my mom. But I think next time I should have probably manualed my Divine Echo, my Weapon Aura, my hammers, just so that I have a little bit more control of when I want to use it. I don't waste the uptime, waste precious seconds kind of going from phase 1 to phase 2. I could have saved it, popped it right before phase 2 here, and had 10 more seconds maybe of uptime. So just little things here and there in order to maximize DPS, things I can try out, things I'm looking to improve on. And then obviously one of the things that we focused on was, again, like I mentioned before, that really helps a ton as we go from benediction after this. So benediction is up. We're going to go into phase 2 or phase 3. And immediately once benediction falls right here, we're going to pop shell, and you're going to see we guard all these attacks. So just stand there, guard, wire attack, guard, guard, guard. No one gets knocked back. When shell is up, there's guard again. And then once shell is down, I'm going to pop my benediction or my synchro and just, again, stand there 30 seconds, maximize DPS damage while my echo and all my cooldowns are up. So that's one of the things that we do. We coordinate shell, benediction, my synchro, so that we can maximize the uptime and maximize, DPS, and try to keep it as consistent as possible. Unfortunately, right here, we get our first purple orb phase. And again, purple orb phase is really just about lack of the uptime, right? We can't attack, we're just surviving. And so that's a huge factor, variable that we can't control from run to run. And so something we just got to pay attention to and survive. But it is, something that matters. When it comes, you can't just look at the charts. You're not going to know until you actually watch the video that is there. We have purple orb phases. Number of purple orb phases do matter. And then one of the things that I did was try to make sure that I just have threading up as much as I can with the splits. I'm trying to communicate that. So when he calls split, I can threaten noble demand both of the targets. So right there, I got noble demand up for both of the split, just again, a little bit more damage. And then right here, we called for shell, and shell is up, guarding everything right when all of our cooldowns are up. So that's just a nice little transition, something that we do to try to prevent the knockbacks. You'll see I barely get knocked back in this fight, in this phase 3. Right after shell is down, we're going to use benediction. So again, staggering cooldowns, and then after benediction, I'm going to use my synchro. So that's just a lot of uptime standing there. Unfortunately, we got this purple orb phase during our cooldowns, big cooldowns, and can't do any damage. For me personally, that's probably like 15 bill damage right there. Just I'm missing with my echo and cooldowns up during that purple orb phase. But what you're going to do, it is what it is. That's about 2 bill DPM in the long run. And then once benediction falls here, just pop synchro again. And then I think shell comes up basically right after, maybe like 30 seconds after synchro does. So it's a nice little rotation that we get here. Make sure that since I'm aggro, that I'm preventing people from getting knocked back. They can maximize their uptime. And everyone smashed it. Unfortunately, we got another purple orb phase, our third one. But overall, our damage was insane. I do think that rotating shell, benediction, and synchro, allowing me to position the boss away from everyone else, it plays a huge factor. Just less deaths overall, not less knockbacks, more uptime. And so you see we're going to coming up on 2 minutes right here. We just used split. I wasn't able to get my synchro, my thread up, but we're going to finish it off right here just before, just over 8 minutes. And again, similar to my hard Magnus multi and solo runs, this one was about 45 bill DPM too. So just crazy to see. Just 3 different pieces of content, similar DPS, times, buffs, all different, but had a lot of fun. Excited to talk about AbsoLab Chaos next week. Can't wait for that February update. Hit that subscribe. Let me know in the comments below what you're most excited for with the AbsoLab update. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.